Alright, this is the Wolfman, and it's time for the Retro Time Machine, baby, where your host Jay Jennings talks to the grooviest cats of the 70s. Now, without further ado, here he is, my main man, Jay Jennings.
Thank you, Wolfman, for that wonderful introduction. I am, of course, your host, Jay Jennings, and welcome to all of you to the Retro Time Machine podcast, where we talk to the grooviest stars of the 70s. And today we have, I should say hello, Fringies, and welcome to the podcast. Come with me if you dare, and together we will explore that uncertain horror that lurks behind the slimiest of walls. And I have a fake wall, but we're going to show you the real wall in a second. As I said, we have a special show about a special person named Larry Vincent, who you might remember him as Sinister Seymour, TV horror host, Knott's Halloween Haunt host, a character who made dozens and dozens of appearances at midnight screenings, amusement parks, autograph conventions in the 70s, much of the enjoyment of his legions of fans. And to help pay tribute to this dearly missed entertainer are two of his daughters, Diane and Valerie Vincent, who in a moment will share stories of growing up with Seymour and share some relics from his vault. I call them the Seymour sisters. But before I bring them on, I thought I'd give a little background on our beloved Seymour. He was born Jerry Vance on June 14th, 1924 in Boston, Massachusetts. He grew up there before going to New York and being a stage actor, even becoming Kirk Douglas's understudy. He also teamed up with Don McCart for a nightclub act in 1951. He traveled to Indianapolis, Indiana, became staff director for WFBM TV, and then he later became Captain Star from 1960 to 67 on that same channel. A kiddie show host alongside Harlow Hickenlooper and Curly Myers, where he showed Three Stooges shorts and did in-studio skits for his young audience, and where a pie in the face was the usual routine. In 1968, he changed his name to Larry Vincent because there was an actor with a similar name, and he moved to LA and became a staff director at KHJ Channel 9. During the late 60s, he was also quite a demand character actor in many popular TV shows of the era, including I Dream of Jeannie, and he was also on The Flying Nun, and he was in one of my other favorite shows of all time, Mission Impossible. He also made an appearance on Get Smart, and he was also on Mannix, all very popular shows at the time. He also appeared in many B-movie horror films like The Witchmaker, and one of my favorites where he actually looks like Seymour, Dr. Death, Seeker of Souls, and then he played Bruce Dern's gardener in The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant. But in 1969, the landscape of horror hosts would change forever when Larry Vincent, who thought that previous horror hosts with their cobwebs, spiders, and ugly makeup weren't cutting the mustard, so to speak, so he jumped into the fray and created the Master of the Macabre, the epitome of evil and the most sinister man to crawl across the face of the earth, Seymour. As there now seems to be some confusion as to when, this is what I've noticed, as to when Seymour traveled from different station to station in the shows that he hosts. Even some reputable websites got it wrong, but I'm going to go over the exact, for the first time ever, chronological timetable of his shows, using rare TV guide ads as my guide to hopefully clear up that confusion. Seymour started hosting Fright Night on Saturday nights at 10 p.m., which showed a double bill of horror, with Seymour making hilarious comments about the films and engaging in a bunch of skits and tomfoolery. He then was let go, but soon afterwards found a new home at KTLA Channel 5 in 1973 with Seymour's Monster Rally, which Saturday nights at 5, which later repeated the same show at Sundays at 1 p.m. This show then was later renamed Seymour Presents, and his airtime moved to Saturdays at 3:30. Now, what made Monster Rally and Seymour Presents stand out is that Seymour introduced the gimmick of frequently appearing on a small box during the movie he showed so he could mock the actors in the scene. For example, if Frankenstein or Dracula said something, Seymour would appear and say, "That's what you think." But anyway, this is all, at least what I remember of the show, that small box, and then him mocking the movie. He was then let go from Channel 5 in January of 74, only to return to KHJ Channel 9 soon afterwards, taking over what was called Creature Features at the time. And then only a little bit later was the show renamed back to Fright Night. He says Seymour's back, Saturdays at 11 p.m. So I hope I cleared up any discrepancies of what show he was on and when he moved to Channel 5 and then back to Channel 9. Now, in the beginning of 71 and continuing up to 74, besides hosting a popular and highly rated TV show for his time slot, there's another ad for the show. Larry and his manager, Gary Blair, there he is, rode this incredible wave of Seymour's success by seeking out amusement parks and other venues to give live audiences a chance to enjoy a live Seymour experience. Something he didn't have to do, but Larry wanted to give back to his fans and perform for them and even meet them. So he embarked on a whirlwind tour of most of Southern California's amusement parks. You can see this is where some of the posters that he would go and meet, these would be plastered all over town, and everybody was looking forward to seeing him. So in 71, he did his first amusement park appearance. It was for Universal Studios, which is great. And then in 72, he did Magic Mountain, the Halloween Spooktacular. Also in 72, he visited Marineland, and they had it was Seymour Day, which was, I wish I would have been at that. We'll ask his daughters if they went to all these with him. But his most successful gig and most fulfilling live hosting gig came in 73 and 74, where he was the master of ceremonies, and starred in the John Wayne Theater with his live stage show at Knott's Berry Farm during Halloween Haunt, where he would present an old horror film and then perform a comedic Grand Guignol show for a packed house of enthusiastic Seymour fans. Unfortunately, Seymour was very ill during the 74 Haunt show, and that was to be his final performance anywhere, and he would sadly pass away from cancer on March 9th, 1975 in Burbank, California at age 50. But we are here today to pay tribute to this very talented and iconic figure, and I couldn't be happier to have with me two of his daughters to help celebrate the life and career of Sinister Seymour. So Diane and Valerie Vincent, welcome to the Retro Time Machine. Oh, wait a minute. It would help if I put up your sounds. Hi, gals.
Hey, bad evening, Jay.
Bad evening to you girls.
Hi.
I'm sorry,
Hi.
I couldn't find a thing to wear.
Right, now, are you Banjo Billy's daughter, or?
I'm Banjo Billy's illegitimate daughter, Banjo Betty. I don't know.
That is so awesome. Thanks for wearing. And tell us about the wall behind you.
This is a remnant, and the only remnant and piece of the slimy wall that I have behind me. It's I don't know. It's just I don't know how big it is. It's about this big.
Right.
And it's all that's left of the set that we know of that exists out there.
Wow.
It's been, rolled up in a piece of plastic. I took it out and thought, let's have this be my backdrop today.
And the nose and the glasses and
Yeah. Let's do away with this because it's real. Dad could pull it off, but it's not my best.
Okay,
look,
please
so
go ahead.
I'm going to do a little costume change.
Okay, you go ahead. I have a slimy wall myself, or that's where I meet my fellow, criminals after we rob a liquor store or something. But anyway, I couldn't be happier to have you guys here. I was just gonna I'm going to let you guys know I'm going to be showing a bunch of rare photos and clips during the course of the show today. Of course, I'll be showing Jerry Vance stuff, Captain Starr, Larry Vincent, and Seymour. But the first question I have for you gals is, and you can take turns answering
Right.
my different questions or whenever you want to jump in. Were you gals old enough to realize who your dad was in the early 70s and that he was this cool horror host on TV? And did every kid in school want to be your friend?
Yes. Yes, yes, and yes.
Yes, yes, and yes.
Yes. We were very well aware of his popularity and his talent and and that he was a big deal. And so much so that when we were in junior high school in Santa Monica, we went to Lincoln Junior High, and they were having a Halloween carnival. And I wanted to show off my dad because I knew he was a big deal, and all the kids loved him. And they used to call us, didn't Val, they refer to us sometimes as Little Seymour.
Oh, for sure. Nobody knew my name.
So I went into the principal's office one day knowing that this Halloween carnival was, nobody knew your name, knowing that this Halloween carnival was coming up. And I actually went to the principal and said, hey, I want an idea. I want to pitch to you. My dad has a show called Fright Night. He's Seymour and he's quite popular. Perhaps we should, have him appear. So I basically am like offering work for my dad that doesn't pay,
Right.
just to have him show up because I wanted to show him off. And he did it. He did it for the kids. He came, and of course he was mobbed, and they had to set up like a makeshift little queue for him, and he ended up in the yearbook that year.
Well, that is so cool.
Yeah.
I could just imagine. Oh, what's after math? Oh, Seymour is talking. But
Hey, Jay, before we go on, I
Yes.
just wanted to commend you on your thorough setup. My God, I almost think that you are in our family because you've got the timeline down perfectly of the Seymour legacy, far more than I could have ever articulated. So I commend you for that. I just do want a slight correction.
please.
A lot of authors and documentarians have gotten his name wrong. His birth name was actually Francis Fitzgerald Vincent, not
Okay.
Jerry Vance. So hence the name Jerry, which was shortened from his middle name Fitzgerald. I don't think he ever went by Francis, but we'd have to ask our aunt that. She's his only living sibling, his only sibling. She's 90, our Aunt Val. So we could ask her that.
Okay.
But his birth name was Francis Fitzgerald, and he departed on March 8th, not March 9th.
I was debating which one it was, and I chose wrong.
It was March 8th. That's okay. It's just a day. It's just a
Okay.
day. Anyway, other than that, your facts were very thorough. And
Thanks.
yeah,
So I got an 8 out of 10.
you did great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want
Especially
to.
with that channel 9 to channel 5 thing, that was always so confusing to me. I never was clear on
No
that.
one gets. IMDb has it wrong. Wikipedia has it wrong. But I have the TV guides to prove it. I know
Yes.
when he went, where he went, what the date was.
Very
And
well
so that's
done.
the only way, because I even think got into a couple arguments, I think, on the Facebook page with some people who were telling me I was wrong. I'm like, I don't think
Right.
so. But you two, getting that validation from you makes it all worth it. I want to ask
So,
you.
sir,
Yes.
Oh, go ahead. No,
I was
you
going to
go
ask
ahead.
Val, something tells me that your dad was a very funny, wisecracking father, similar to his Seymour character. Was he like that at home, or was he nothing like that?
I don't remember him being, kind of the knee slapping comedic dad. He was very kind and kind of quiet, really. He was funny, but not kind of the consistent jokester that people might have thought because of his humor. But he was kind of a quiet, gentle soul, very loving. And for sure, he made us laugh, but it wasn't.
He didn't say, "What's for dinner, girls?"
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't like a ha ha, constantly joking around guy. He was very, very witty.
Oh.
And but he did make us laugh for sure.
Oh, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
I mean,
Wow.
Yeah.
Dee Dee, I don't know if you remember him being like super funny all the time. He was just a kind of a quiet, kind of unassuming person. You know, he
Yeah.
wasn't really full of himself.
Yeah, he was
Oh,
very focused on his craft, and his goals, and so very business minded. So my memory, and again, I mean, I was 15 when he passed, and my teenage years, he wasn't around very much because he was very, very driven, and always, if not for the Seymour, he was working on his acting career,
right.
pursuing, going to casting calls and working on Larry Vincent, the actor. Because remember, or I don't know if you remember or
I
even
do.
knew
I'm
this,
almost as old.
you know, Seymour was just his day gig. Basically, he had much bigger.
Oh, sure.
He wanted, he fancied himself a really serious character actor, and which he was.
Right, and we'll
But he
talk about
loved
that soon.
he loved the Western genre. He would have made a fabulous cowboy in one of Clint Eastwood's films. He
Yeah.
so he was. My point is, he was very, very focused on his career and always working at it. So not home a lot in our teenage years. In our younger years, he was at the station. You mentioned WFBM. Very career driven. And yes, he was funny. He was funny at home. He made us laugh. But Val's right that there was that quiet, more serious side to him as well. So he wasn't like clowning around all the time.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But very quick-witted, like Val said, very, very funny, and certainly did make us laugh.
Oh,
Absolutely.
who wouldn't want to have Seymour as a dad? I mean, mine was boring as hell. Let me just tell you.
Oh,
No,
no,
seriously.
he was anything but boring. And,
No, I get that.
especially,
great.
when we were in Indiana, backtracking a little bit to the Captain Star that you mentioned. I mean, he had this monkey, Davy Jones, as his little mascot.
Well, I have a
and
picture of that
monkey,
we'll show. Yeah.
yeah, that monkey lived in our garage, and
Wow.
so there was, some,
Ah,
Some crazy
some
times.
incidents with that.
some monkeying
with
around for
Right.
sure.
Well, let me ask you, because I got a ton of questions I want to ask you gals.
Yeah.
So obviously, then I was going to ask, but you basically have told me that the phenomenon of who your dad was, you were old enough in your early teens to, I guess, appreciate who he
For sure.
was and stuff. And
Absolutely.
right, so it's not like the rest of us. It took, because a lot of the country. Well, he was. I'll get to this later. I don't want to jump ahead of myself. He was syndicated at some point, but a lot of us in LA mostly know about him as opposed to the rest of the country. So they only learned about him through a couple of books, like maybe some horror host books that came out. But he was, I think, to the rest of us of that era, born, I think, 1960, near there, that he was iconic, and we missed the heck out of that show. Let me move on by saying, we're just going to jump to do you have any recollections of any of his most, I mean, like I do, I can tell you when I was watching him, how many of his most memorable bits, like you wore Banjo Billy's outfit or the pizza guy. Do you recall anything that comes to mind of any one of you of some of the comments he made or any of the dialogue that he used?
Val, do you?
I mean, not specific dialogue, but I do. I think my favorite part of his show was the Party Crasher. I
Oh,
mean,
really?
Yeah.
those shticks always made me laugh. I just
Yeah.
thought they were so funny, and the
Crashing the
corny,
party.
just the the audio going on behind, and it's just
Yeah.
I mean, it was so unique. There was nothing else like that on television.
If not, of course not. Diane, what was your favorite bit, if you can
I
recall?
love I love when he'd crash the party, and so ridiculous. And then didn't he have a Royal Flush Award where he'd have
Yes.
his little toilet? And,
Oh, yeah.
And he'd give you'd hear the toilet flush, and I have a.
And I think he held a plunger too.
He
Yeah, and then I loved any time, and you mentioned the popping up of the scream, that device of him popping up, which preceded, the Mystery Science.
Oh, yes, of course.
Phenomenon that those guys, that was taking off of where Seymour started, right? I have here, as part of my show and tell,
Nice.
I have a cue card.
Oh, move it more to the center.
Back in the day, this is how he would, like a teleprompter, right?
Yeah, that would move slowly up, yeah.
Right, and, it's just...
That should be in the Smithsonian.
I know. There's only one of it. It's, I am Seymour, your fiendish friend and part-time used salesman, reminding you that Saturday afternoon at 4:30, Lon Chaney and John Carradine star in the frightening film festival Mummy's Ghost. This is, of course, he could read it better than I.
Right.
This, of course, is the strange tale of a curse that enables a mummy to stay awake for 3,000 years. That seems a bit severe when a strong cup of coffee would have done the trick. So,
right.
One little joke on one piece of paper that he read on the show.
Awesome.
And then, but I have to admit that I did not always watch his show. I
was going to ask you girls were girls. I mean, you were into other things. Maybe, you're starting to date and you have, no, okay.
Not
anyway.
Honestly, I don't remember religiously every Friday night or Saturday afternoon tuning in. I'm sure there are many episodes that I missed, which is why it's so very sad that we have nothing on.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going in sections, but I'm sure you want to bellow out all this information, but let's just do it nice and slow because I'm a collector of hard to find TV shows, and that's just one of many shows that there's absolutely no episodes of, and it does make my blood boil. But anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about your dad's early years. Your dad started out as a stage actor in New York, and he was in very impressive productions. Mm-hmm. And maybe you can talk a little bit about that as I show some photos from his early years. So let's see if I can find them. I might show a mistake by accident to start off, but that's fine. And if I do, so be it. No. There we go. Now, this was Cyrano, right?
Cyrano, yes. Cyrano. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Did he ever talk about his early days with you gals?
I don't recall him talking about it, and this is where I am an actor, and I would have given anything today to talk to him about his craft. But at 9, 10 years old, 11, I guess it didn't interest me at the time, and I don't remember him speaking about it. But again, our Aunt Val, who grew up with him as a sibling, I'm sure could regale you with all kinds of, or our brother Dan Vincent, perhaps if you ever do another one of these, could talk more about the early years of Larry as the actor.
This is One More with Feeling.
Pardon?
This one's One More with Feeling.
Oh, yes. Yes. He did a lot of theater, and as you mentioned, did understudy Kirk Douglas. That's Kismet. Now,
It
Kismet, he played the Wazir, and Kismet is a really special show because it's the show where he met our mother.
Nice.
They were doing that in Indianapolis at a company called Footlight Theatricals, and Val and I just visited that theater in September. We went back to Indianapolis for the first time since we were children, and he met our mom. She was in the orchestra. She was the musical director, and they soon thereafter had Val. So it was Kismet.
It was Kismet. Let's staying on topic of Larry's early days. Oh, they're coming for me. So did he ever talk to you about, I mean, he didn't really talk about his acting, but did he ever talk to you gals about, I can maybe ask you, Val, about Captain Star? Or from the research I did, it seems to have been a very popular show.
It was really popular. And again, we were pretty little, pretty young. I was probably 7 years old. So I do remember going to a live taping of the show. Oh, there's Davy, of the show, and it was great fun because there were little kids in the audience, and when they weren't live taping, they had little giveaways for the kids. I remember I won some Mary Poppins doll, and I don't think you can really take it in when you're a small child, and you really don't understand what's the how fabulous it is when you're a little kid. I don't know if that makes sense. You just kind of are going. I was going to work with my dad, so that just seemed like normal. Oh, everybody goes to work with their dad and they're on a TV set, and that just seemed normal to me. So I sort of wasn't taking it in the way I would now, as an adult, and really appreciate that.
Right.
But it was fun, and yeah, he was popular. Our whole lives he was popular.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I wonder if you guys thought, oh, in 10 years he's going to be Seymour. No, not a clue, right?
I didn't see that coming.
Right.
No.
I would just imagine. Well, I've got a clip that I'd like to play from Captain Star, so let's take a look at that.
Oh, great.
Let's go inside. You mean clear inside? Inside the door by those skeletons? These skeletons right there?
Go ahead.
Hello, fellas.
Are you afraid?
Well,
I'll tell you what, I'll go in first. I will go in, and then you come in after me, all right?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, okay.
I'll show you there's nothing to be afraid.
Yeah, well, hey, wait a minute, kids. Look, I got a little surprise. See, I got the mask, and I'll put it on, and I'll go, like that. See, I'll scare the captain, and he won't know. Now, don't tell him. Don't tell him. We'll just surprise him. See, I'll go in after him. He'll never know. It'll be dark in there, and, here we go. Oh, boy. Oh, oh. Oh. What happened? Where'd it go? I lost it. Oh, gosh. What? He's...
Very Three Stooges, very Keystone Cops.
God,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, yeah, the show, they showed Three Stooges shorts in between their segments. So, yeah, very, very physical comedy. You see it's funny to see the skeleton in that shot, a little foreshadowing, of
Right.
Seymour.
And
But,
I don't want to get too off topic, but watching that reminds me of how clean my dad's humor was.
Oh,
As
God, yes.
Seymour, I mean, it was clean, kind of wholesome, just
Yeah,
slapsticky
for sure.
humor, which
yeah.
I think is just so wonderful.
Yeah,
Oh, it is.
refreshing.
Oh, I love old stuff like that, and you can see, the comedy. I mean, that's what it was in those days.
Yeah.
Kind of that.
Jay, one
yes.
thing our dad introduced us, Val and I, at a very young age, he introduced us to Laurel and Hardy and the Marx Brothers. And Dad was a huge Laurel and Hardy fan and made sure that we were introduced to those icons. As a matter of fact, he was an amazing Stan Laurel impersonator.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
He had like Dick Van Dyke. I mean, he had him down.
That's awesome.
So we appreciate the fact that he introduced us to legendary comedians that, kids back, even today, but even back 45 years ago, would not have appreciated Laurel and Hardy. And we're grateful to him for introducing those comedians to us.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
we love them.
Great clip. Almost kind of like Soupy Sales or Ernie Kovacs. That
Yes.
type of comedy. Now let's talk about Seymour. Your dad was very passionate about the character, and he put a lot of time and work into it, coming up with ideas and dialogue and sketches. And even though it might seem hokey maybe today, it was all pretty much planned out, wasn't it? With some ad-libbing thrown in?
Oh, more than certainly. I'm sure there was ad-libbing thrown in. I was digging through the artifacts, and I did come across these artifacts and all kinds of souvenir type of things that we have. One day we may decide. I mean, we've hung on to them for so long, but we may decide to share. You know.
Well, I've got an empty bookcase here.
we may do that as early as next year. This is on this yellow tablet paper is an actual work through of some ideas for an episode.
Oh, show that in the middle of the screen.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And you flashed a picture earlier of Dad with his manager Gary Blair.
Right.
I just wanted to point out in the middle of that picture is our stepmother Larry Vincent, who was his right-hand gal in creating the scripts, co-writing, and he really relied heavily on her to come up with some of the bits and the premises, and a lot of this is in her writing.
In the center, more centered.
Just notes and ideas, props, So this is the only actually handwritten thing that I found that's preparing for an episode. There's several pages of it.
That's so cool.
I haven't even read through it. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, so he worked with her on the show.
Sorry.
Yes, Val?
It reminds me of kind of the day in the life. We were in junior high school, and we lived with my dad and stepmother at the time, and we would come down in the morning for breakfast, and you weren't allowed to sit down at the table until you said good morning. That was my dad's rule. And we would, eat our breakfast and get ready to leave. And Linda and my dad were at the table every morning with, the legal pad. They would start to write the show. And reflecting back on that too, I mean, so disciplined.
Yeah.
That takes so much discipline to, schedule your day, write the show, go to the studio. I mean, I just, like I said, as an adult, it's like, wow, you really, he made it happen.
Right.
He did.
Well, I know that writer Douglas McEwen
Yes.
wrote a lot of the scripts with your dad.
He did.
How important were his contributions? Because he seems to have a good grasp on what Seymour would say, especially his hilarious one-liners.
Who, Doug?
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know. Because it wasn't until years and years later that I was even aware that Doug McEwen was a co-writer on Dad's show. And once I learned that information, I've learned a lot more and have connected with Doug, and he apparently had a lot to do with at least the last two seasons.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, very very much so apparently, and but Val, do you remember? Because I don't remember ever meeting him. I know obviously that he was a co-writer, but I wasn't aware of him as a kid.
No, he wasn't a big part of our life or anything, but I think, again, we became more aware of that later in our lives.
Well, I'm glad he came out from, he was a writer, and he was very young at the time, I think. He was 21 or 22. I've read some of his memoirs. And, he worked very closely with him. They would go to lunch together. They were buddies.
Yes, they were very close, and Doug was obviously shattered when, you may have seen him speak about it on the Knott's Dairy Farm piece. Apparently, they were very, very close, and it was a big loss for Doug.
Right,
big loss. I gifted him with a Seymour watch.
Ooh.
About 3 years ago.
Nice.
Is a very small thank you token for his friendship and his contribution to the legacy of Seymour.
Well, I think those last 2 years, at least, most of the scripts were his, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Anyway, I think it was mentioned. He might have mentioned.
Oh wait, can I tell you something real quick about that watch? Doug met me at Universal Studios where I work, and this was about 3 or 4 years ago. And I said, I have something for you. And there were only, Val, one of 3 or 4 watches? Maybe
there's the other one.
Val has the other one. Okay. And I think they're hand painted. It's quite a nice relic. Quite a nice relic. And I gave it to Doug, and it was still ticking.
Takes a ticking and keeps on licking.
Incredible.
Right. Well, I think it was mentioned that Seymour was a cross between Dracula and Groucho Marx. And I think Doug tells the tale that when he met Groucho, Groucho said he was a fan of the show.
I know.
Does that blow you away or what?
Oh,
Blown away.
I know. Isn't that awesome?
I always watch Seymour every Saturday. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, incredible. I know.
So let me ask you, when the show started, and it is in late '69. Some things have it in the early '70s. It's late '69 on Channel 9. In between the movies, it was more or less a comedic dialogue between Seymour and an announcer who was first called Wayne, who they later called Herkimer Ujinsky.
Herkimer Ujinsky.
Yeah, who often got on Seymour's nerves. As I said, I know you guys were young, but do you recall those really early shows on the first year on Fright Night?
Vaguely.
Yeah, I do. I do remember Wayne, and if I dare say, I really liked Wayne's voice a lot better. Thought it was much more animated, and it was kind of disappointing when Wayne left. Yeah. Herkimer.
Well, and Val,
Herkimer,
correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Herkimer voiced by Dad's manager, Gary Blair?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Who,
Yeah.
did well. My dad did well by Gary, but Gary I don't think was an actor per se.
No,
So-
he was not.
The delivery was completely different.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I preferred the Wayne delivery.
Yeah.
Right. So let me ask you, later on, characters such as Pizza Fella, who I loved, were, come here and come to the studio, were added, and Seymour would call him on the payphone and try to get pizza delivered. See if I have a photo of that. Nope, hold on.
That's Doug McEwen.
Yeah,
by
it is
the
Doug.
way.
I showed that earlier. I'm trying to find. Yeah, here he is on the phone.
Yeah.
At KTLA Channel 5 and make it a double pepperoni.
Yeah.
I remember those skits like it was yesterday. Are they as vague
wow.
or
God.
are they right? Was it almost like yesterday to you gals?
Can I ask you a personal question, Jay? Well, were you a teenager at the time?
No. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you.
Were you in high school?
No. Yeah. I'm almost 70. No, just
No
kidding.
way.
Anyway, so I'm a TV historian, so it's kind of like my job. Because when I go to parties and I network, people ask me, "You're so young. How do you know about all this stuff?" Now, I was born in '65, but I was born the day Beatles for Sale came out, if that means anything. But no. People always ask, "What do you remember?" Well, that's what I remember. August 23rd. So no, I'm a big fan of TV shows shows that came on later. But I have an incredible childhood memory. Like I remember,
do.
yeah, when I
And
was
I
two.
do not.
Oh,
I do
okay.
not.
When I
And
was two,
that's-
3, 4, and 5, I remember all the shows. I mean, I would watch, as I said, Soupy Sales and Chuck McCann and Laugh-In and all these shows when they aired originally. So I didn't really watch them in reruns. So I could tell you every Get Smart and Addams Family episode. And
Oh my God.
it's a curse because my wife says enough already. So
Well, I beg to differ. I think it's a blessing because I'm really frustrated that, again, I have such a far more greater appreciation now of what my dad accomplished as an actor and a performer and a creative, and I can't remember a lot of it.
Oh.
And I did, and he's not around for me to ask questions.
I know.
What was that like, and how did you do that? And we have some interviews, some great interviews, transcripts of interviews where he talks about it. So I get a little bit. And Dad also kept a journal of all of his interviews. What casting person, what casting office he was going to. He was very, very dedicated to his work. And and we have that journal, and it's like a Bible for me.
You know what it is? I'll read that as a one-man show. The Journals of
amazing.
Seymour. Anyway,
Yeah,
let me move on. I'd be remiss
Yes.
if I didn't mention another classic character who you came as his daughter earlier, and that's Seymour's alter ego, Banjo Billy, who was playing his playing was amateurish at best, but Seymour was actually your dad was a pretty good banjo player, was he not?
He was. Yes. And I I have a show and tell.
Oh, here we go.
Here it is. Here's the banjo.
Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty old. I mean,
Hey Val, come play. Won't you come home, Bill Bailey?
oh, I wish I could. Shame on me. I don't know how to play it yet. I do, but it was pretty beat up. It was in Diane's garage for a long time, and it had a big hole in it. And anyway, I had it refurbished a couple of years ago, so now it's just this prize.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a treasure, and it looks brand new now. And he was quite good.
He was
he
a
was.
good musician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was. So
He
I was
played
gonna.
it at the Mayfair Music Hall too.
Oh no, definitely. I mean, I was gonna say, I think personally, I don't know if he ever told you. It looks like some of these characters you can tell he relished playing. So I'm thinking that was probably one of his more favorite
You bet.
characters to play.
I bet you
yeah.
he thought the genesis of Banjo Billy was, hey, I got a talent to play the banjo. How can I work it into the act? So he creates an alter ego that plays the banjo.
Exactly. Now, regarding Seymour's insults and comments, they were witty, they were sharp, and the fans ate it up. I mean, the switchboard would light up with loyal fans, and even a scattering of angry letters, which was fine with Seymour. I'm doing my job. Right. So, what did you think about his the popularity, which we'll talk about? I mean, was it through the roof? I mean, I was going to show photos later because I know he enjoyed meeting his fans. But I mean, everywhere he went, there were hundreds, if not like thousands of people to greet him.
Yeah, he was a rock star. He was. And, he had a fan club that had lots of merchandise, right?
Well, we're going to talk about that later.
Yeah, but yes, he was everywhere he went. Crowds and crowds and crowds.
He had that special, he's that special something that appealed that only very few, I mean, I don't want to sound crazy, but it's almost like Sinatra-like, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
He was like almost I'm a member of the Rat Pack, you dummy. So that's what I loved about him. I have another clip to show, and this rare video this footage is from Seymour's Monster Rally, and it's courtesy of the Seymour sisters. So let's take a quick look. This is so clear, and I hope you all enjoy it.
I'm going to go get my plug while you're doing that.
Please do.
I'm losing power. Okay? I'll be right back.
All right.
And now it's time for what I know you've all been waiting for. A little fanfare, please. Thank you. Yes, it's time to Squawk Back, where you dummies get a chance to wear your squawks. The only feature of this kind on any horror show in the nation. Alive and unrehearsed, on tape, uncensored. All right, sir, will you step right up and let's hear your squawk. Moving right along here.
Good evening, Mr. Sophomore.
That's Seymour.
I agree. However,
just move right along, sir.
However, I've been watching your show for some time now, and I think your views on horror films are slanted. Slanted!
Could you just give us the important points, sir? We have so many other guests, and they're all waiting to squawk back.
Right. Now, I think the way that you treat your helper, Yudzinski, is cruel and inhumane.
Well,
And you have no respect for great films like The Headless Ghost.
Really?
Monster and the Girl, and The Astounding She-Monster.
Sir, I'm terribly sorry, but we're running out of time. Could you come back again next week, sir?
I doubt if I'll be around next week.
Well, I'm sorry, sir. We'll have to move along. And that's it, folks. That's all for tonight. They're taking us right off the air. But join us again for Squawk Back, the only feature of this kind on Excuse me. Seymour here? Oh, George, how are you? It's George Putnam. You just saw the show. Sure, you can use it anytime. Yes, I agree, you have more control over the show. Well, it's very simple, George. You just pull the lever. You know, if anybody gives you an argument, and down they go.
So that was epic and a great example of the show's creative output. And I have to mention, it's just missed from, the last 30 years of television. You just don't have anything close to that. I'd have to mention I was a big fan of Soupy Sales. I kind of see a little bit of that, but your dad was so unique. But this is where we were talking about earlier, that a lot of these great TV shows of the past, even another show that I wrote a book about called Wonderama, which was a very famous kid show. That show was erased by Metromedia, so no episodes exist.
Whoa.
Right, you remember Wackadoo, Wackadoo, and Bob would interview the kids, and there was a bunch of celebrities on, and they would play games and skits. So his reign from 67 to 77 were all taped over or erased or thrown in the Hudson by Metromedia before they sold out to Fox. Now, luckily, like I am friends with you gals, I am friends with his daughters, and they were kind enough to forward me his private archives. So I actually have some episodes of Wonderama intact that I've shared on another page. But it just boils my blood to think the same thing happened with KTLA. Either it's the old, it's a lost show because they fall victim to the dreaded practice of a station erasing and taping over a show for some. Go out and buy some fresh tapes.
I know, it's
and
criminal.
I don't know what management was thinking, but unless some station exec privately made his own copies, they're obviously gone with the wind. And I want to know what your take on is that. And as I said earlier, my blood is boiling thinking at least 5 shows, 10 shows, something.
Yeah.
But anyway, what do you girls think about that?
Val, you want to take that one?
For years, we looked and tried to find tapes of the show. I went to UCLA. We called Channel 9. We called Channel 5. All these archiving places. There was nothing. And I think it's just, it really makes me mad too. I think it's such a shame. Just
tragic.
It is.
I can't,
It's awful.
I can't imagine, like you were saying, Jay, how the manager of the station was it out of just being cheap that they would have to tape over? So we had nothing. And like Val said, we pursued for years various avenues to find anything. And fans like you, Jay, would audio tape it from their TV set. So we have tons and tons of audio that fans have actually sent us over the years on CD and now digitally. But so that tape that you just shared surfaced quite miraculously a couple of years ago. And I won't tell you the whole story, but it literally surfaced months before Quentin Tarantino was looking for Seymour footage to include in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. His people had come to us and said that Q, that's what I call him, Q, was a big Seymour fan and wanted it to have set dressing to recreate the time period in Hollywood. So he indeed created the poster on Hollywood and Cherokee Boulevard. So we had that, and then they came to us for footage, and we said, there isn't, but we have a box. We have a box of a reel of film that we just discovered recently. We don't know what's on it. You're welcome to take it. And it did have Larry Vincent Seymour, but we didn't know. And mind you, it had been in this box in a garage for the last 45 years, exposed to all the elements, heat, rain, you name it. It wasn't preserved carefully at all. And that's the miracle of this footage that you just shared. We handed it over to his production company. They transferred everything in that box, whether it had anything or not to do with Fright Night. So we now have digitally all of this stuff. Some of it has to do with his career, having nothing to do with Fright Night. But there it was, the Holy Grail. that footage from Fright Night that you just shared, that we turned over, and Quentin did in fact use it as backdrop for one of the scenes in the film. It goes by very quickly. You don't blink or you'll miss it. But we now have that, and can you believe how pristine it is, Jay?
Oh, it's.
Can you believe? And when we were crying when we looked at it. It was surreal. We couldn't believe his voice, his eyes, the color, everything was.
It looks like 4K HD. I can't get over it.
Right.
Now, I have a special. Go ahead, Val.
I just wanted to bounce off that when you put the clip on and we were watching it. I'm still.
Yeah.
So he looked like nobody else. Like that face, his cheeks, his eye. I can look at him in that film or a picture of him, and I still cannot get over. It sounds kind of corny, but he just looked like nobody else.
Nobody.
And in school, I thought it was kind of dumb because kids would come up to us all the time and say, "Oh, how does your dad get his face to look like that? What kind of makeup does he wear?" And I'm like, that's his face,
Pancake.
But, right, he just, that face, he just looked.
Oh, so one in a million face, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think maybe that was another reason people were sort of awestruck by him because it just.
Chiseled. No, you don't see too many chiseled actors like that. So I think we talked about it earlier. You're right. I think he, not through no fault of his own, he perhaps should have done some more serious acting.
He wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got a taste of it on those, the Mannixes and the I Dream of Genies and stuff.
Yeah.
But maybe maybe the bad guy in a Hawaii Five-0 episode.
You bet. He made a great villain. With that face.
Right.
And just I wanted to share with you because the clip that you just showed, we haven't unveiled it yet, Jay. But we have a surprise for the fans. We have another clip that has not been we haven't shared it yet, but it's really special, and it's from the show, but there's a special guest star on it, and we will be launching that very soon.
Cool. I'm not even going to say.
Stay tuned, Fringies.
That's right, Frenchies. You'll see who it is. But what's funny is I probably could guess who it is, but I'm not going to. But anyway,
I know you could.
I could also do an impression of both of them. But anyway,
I know you could.
So let's change the topic to a more happier theme than erased shows.
Yeah.
Okay. I showed a few of these earlier, and I think I own the largest collection of Seymour TV guide ads, which are so precious to me. I think I have them framed all up in my kitchen.
Oh, my God.
So I showed a few of them earlier to kind of show you the timetable of when he went from KHJ to KTLA back to KHJ.
Yep.
And these are old TV guide ads from the early 70s with Seymour promoting all the different versions of his show. So let's take a look, and then you guys can comment.
Okay.
Today's Num Num Neanderthal Man. So these were what they kind of look like. Very similar, but just a different title. Of course, today at 5 and then replay tomorrow at 1. Mm-hmm. And then Dracula's daughter, you'll be bats about her. And what I do is I clean these up digitally, of course. But no, actually, I collect TV guides. That's why I'm able to.
Oh, I was wondering where you got them.
Yeah, well, yeah, no. I walk into a store. Do you have a TV guide with a Seymour ad in it?
Yeah,
but
right.
of course, another one for Dracula. This is what they all look like. It was either horizontal or vertical. That's how it would be in the TV guide. Also, the TV Times, which was the TV guide from the LA Times, which is this big little book, a little kind of booklet. Yeah. And so I have the complete run of 1970s TV guides, and I said, the heck with it. Let's get the scissors and cut these out, because to me they're worth more, at least to me, than the actual TV guide. Here's
you mean
another
like
one.
this one?
Oh, hold on a minute. You're gonna steal my thunder. Just a second.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, here, show it again, Diane.
Oh, no. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead. I want to see.
Your presentation.
Go ahead.
This is just an article from the TV Times.
Right.
But I have also your a whole folder here of TV guide ads, which
Oh.
I'm sure you have most of.
No, you guys probably. I always brag a good game, but when it comes to the Seymour sisters,
Well,
I'm sure it pales by comparison.
I don't know.
Okay, let me find out where I was.
Jay.
The ape. You'll go bananas tonight. I'm monkeying around with an opus.
Oh man, those are priceless, Jay.
To me, they're like lithographs done by, by Dolly
Yeah.
or something.
Oh
But
my God, yes.
I think I have a few more.
Love.
Look at this one. Now, what's interesting, there aren't too many Seymour Presents ads. So when I found this one, I was like, whoa. And it's also, it's not from LA, obviously. So yeah, I go to bargain bins, estate sales.
Oh my God, that's wonderful. I love that. Yeah, you probably have a lot more than we do.
And then this one, now I was going to ask you about this one. This blows my mind. After they're going to show Horror of Dracula, there's a Seymour special. What on earth could that be? He hosted a special?
Probably
That
just did,
blows
like,
my mind.
A live stage show?
No, a show on Channel 5.
Oh,
Like,
on Channel 5?
Yeah, it
Oh,
wasn't
I don't
it wasn't
know.
a Seymour's Monster Rally. He hosted another titled show.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I had no idea. What? I don't know.
It was on at 9:35 right after Horror of Dracula.
Dang, wouldn't you like to see that?
Wow.
I would. Let me see if this is one more, if that's it. Okay, there he is looking for
Oh,
lunch.
that's a great poster.
Right.
Him digging through the trash can looking for lunch.
Right. Well, listen, after 3 successful years on KHJ Channel 9, hosting Fright Night, he was let go in 72. And looking back, it's not really important, but just between the three of us, why do you think that was? Budgetary reasons, or perhaps a lack of a good film library? Because they replaced him with Mona Lisa, who really wasn't that good. I heard she was a doll, was really a sweet girl when she worked with Larry at Knott's years later, but she only lasted 13 weeks. So why would you get rid of Seymour and then bring in a girl who only lasts 13 weeks?
No earthly idea. Val, do you have any ideas?
No idea. And it could be all of those things you suggested.
Right.
Budget, library, who knows? No idea.
Right.
You have to ask Linda.
I'm thinking budgetary. I'm thinking maybe your dad asked for a raise and just said,
be.
"You guys
And
don't
you-
pay me enough."
Yeah,
So
Possible.
that's just my take on that.
That would make
Yeah.
sense because
Right.
he had the ratings, he had the fans.
Oh, sure he did.
He probably just said, "Show me the money," and they showed him the door.
So in 73, though Seymour was soon back on the air at KTLA Channel 5 with the same ingenious shtick and a much better film library. Everybody, some of the people I've chatted to who are more, TV vault experts, and we would talk to, the KTLA had a much bigger budget than Channel 9. And I want to be honest, I actually preferred, if I'm going to pick, I know a lot of people like the early Fright Nights, but I'm a Seymour's Monster Rally kind of guy. I don't know why. To me, he was just, because I've compared the two. I mean, with I have the audio tapes too, and I have a lot of the articles, but it just seems like even though he spent more time doing Fright Night, Seymour's Monster Rally is just so cool. In fact, after Seymour left, Channel 5 had a show called Monster Rally. So they basically kept the moniker. What do you girls think?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
what's
you
your
mean,
what's your
what do you
opinion?
think
What
the
show did you like
difference
did you like better? Or were they
Again,
all the
I
same
have-
to you?
I have to plead. I don't remember well enough.
They all blended in together as like the same show.
They did for me. Yeah. And it's interesting that you have such a distinction between the two.
Or maybe that's my own neuroses. I don't know.
No,
Or your
that's
incredible memory, Jay.
so-
I told you.
Yeah.
It takes me a long time to get to sleep. But anyway,
Wow.
because all these, when am I going to dream tonight? 1978, 1973.
Oh my God.
So yeah, Ambien is my friend. But anyway, no, that's a whole other story. But anyway, let's talk more about. We'll have another Rare TV promo. So this is the one that I think I found, and I put on the Facebook page. Some guy who repairs tapes on for a living, he doesn't know what he puts on. He puts on like 10 minutes of commercials, and then a minute goes by, and there's a promo for Seymour's Monster Rally. I'm like, I'm grabbing that. So, yeah, I'm the guy who, and he took it off. Actually, he took it down. It was off for about 3 or 4 years, and I think he put it back on recently. But,
yeah, I saw it.
But thanks to me, I actually grabbed it.
Thank you.
So
that was incredible.
So let's take a look at this great commercial that I think played after a UCLA Bruin game in 74 or 75.
Awesome.
This has been another sports exclusive on the TVS television network.
Okay, dummies, February 5 at 5 o'clock, I'll be right here on 5 with some real bombs. You'll like them, I won't. Let's take a look at a couple of them together, shall we? First we have, the incomparable Neanderthal man. The story of a man called Neanderthal. Then a special Mother's Day treat, the mummy, which you'll really enjoy. The mummy. Mummy, right here on 5 at 5, February the 5, and clean this place up.
He was going to say, how I love you, my dear old mummy.
Mummy.
Right. That is just fantastic. I mean, just seeing 30 seconds or a minute of that, just imagine if a full episode, I mean, it would be like heaven on earth, basically.
Oh my God, would it ever? What a gem that is.
God,
I'm so glad you found that.
Yeah.
Watching that last line, Val, reminded me of getting back to your question about, Dad being funny at home and whatnot. When he says, clean this place up, we used to go to church with our dad from time to time, and the minister would say, will our ushers please rise? And Dad would whisper, and get out. And don't slam the door.
Right.
And then you're not supposed to laugh in church, right? So we're trying not to laugh, and our dad's just taunting us with dropping these little one-liners.
And he uses them on the show.
Yep.
And you're probably maybe too young to see it, but when you see it, you go, oh my God, Dad used to tell us that. Finish your supper, you don't get dessert, kind of thing. But let me ask you, from what I've read, Larry wanted to expand the Seymour character outside of the TV show, and rightly so. I mean, think about it. You just don't want to be pigeonholed to a small channel. He wanted to put out albums and a magazine, and I love this, a Seymour-esque stage play of Dracula. But it didn't pan out, and I was reading he was actually upset about that. But what he was able to do, which he was very happy about, was when Seymour's Monster Rally was playing on Channel 5, he contacted Rhodes Productions, which was a syndication company, and they were able to syndicate Seymour's Monster Rally across the United States, so in different smaller markets, Pittsburgh, Washington, Cincinnati. So he was able, so people would be turning on their late night, host, and all of a sudden, who's this guy? So he was able to find an audience that way. Did you know about his syndication?
I had no idea.
Wow.
Val, did you?
I have a vague memory of that, and I remember, not to bring the show down, but when he became ill, that he was getting close to full syndication. I do remember that. But it was kind of on the precipice of it being, syndicated across the U.S. So, and maybe I have that confused. Maybe he was syndicated in some small,
smaller
hotspots.
Markets.
Yeah, but I thought that was, looming, and it was going to happen.
Can you only imagine, though, Jay? I mean, after he passed, soon thereafter, Elvira comes in, and look how big she became. I guarantee you, he was on the verge of something huge.
The precipice.
Huge. Yes. Merchandising and endorsing of products and everything that Elvira achieved. Yeah, he didn't have the cleavage, but he had what he had, and I think that again speaks to the tragedy of us losing him so early.
Right. No, I agree. And I'm not going to give away anything, but this was and hopefully I'm not, it's just a coincidence, but one of his greatest guests on the show was, I'm just doing an impression, was John Carradine. Seymour, thank you for having me on the show.
That's good, Jay. That's very good.
I met John Carradine. You're going to laugh. This is so funny. It was a year before he passed. I was on Melrose in 1985, and I was walking by Johnny Rockets on Melrose, which is this hamburger joint, kind of a 50s joint.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I wanted a hamburger, and I'm walking by, and I see out of the corner of my eye this like oldest gentleman with like a top hat sitting there, and he had very bad arthritis. And he was kind of having trouble grabbing the burger. And I said to myself, because I'm a big horror fan, I could tell one a mile away. I'm like, oh my God, that's John Carradine. So I go inside, and I have a lot of autographs, a lot of celebrities. You can just imagine me at a party. I'm a big fan. And then I would, we'd have a conversation, and near the end, I'd ask for an autograph. And 90% of the time I would get it. But this time I didn't get it. Because he can't even grab the hamburger, damn it. So I'm sitting next to him. I said, I'm a big fan. That's nice. Hand me the ketchup. So I was like, you know what? This conversation is too cool. I'm not even going to ask for an autograph. So I can tell my children, my 7-year-old son, when he gets older, Dad, had a hamburger or shared some ketchup with John Carradine.
That's awesome. The moment is much more memorable than the autograph that you would have gotten.
So I hope I didn't give away anything with showing that.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Anyway, of course you didn't. Anyway, let's talk a minute about Seymour's. We just touched about it earlier, but I have some photos I want to show that how much he was loved and adored. Loyal fan base that ranged from little kids to teenagers to grown adults. His humor, his wit, his personality attracted them, obviously. To me, he was like that fun uncle who came to dinner on Thanksgiving. I mean, he was your dad, but to me, it was like Uncle Seymour. Who's got the dressing? So he loved his fans, and he never. You can tell it. You can see the from the body language, and he never shied away from meeting them or signing autographs. He might say something, offensive, but in the end, he would actually grab the pen and sign it. He's not the kind of guy I think who would turn down an autograph. This was genuine and not for show. Could you tell us about that?
That's absolutely true. Yeah. Val, do you want to comment?
Well, I mean, and I think that authenticity about him came through. He was it's just so cliche, but he was a very nice man. And very caring. And when Diane and I, run into or, come across someone who's worked with my dad, every time, just what a lovely man he was, a professional, just respectful. So I think that was easy for him to be, nice and generous and really present for fans. That's just who he was as a person.
He was mobbed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. And you had asked us earlier, Jay, if we went to any of those appearances. The Knotts back in those days was called the Halloween Haunt, right? It wasn't called Knott's Scary Farm. Val, we did attend that, right? When he did a thing at the John Wayne Theater. We accompanied him at the Hollywood Christmas Parade where he was the Grand Marshal. We got to sit in the back of the car. And it was those types of events where we really could see firsthand the adoration, and Dad was not dismissive of anybody, and and he really, really just loved it. He loved the adoration. And,
sure. Why wouldn't he? I mean, it was genuine.
Yeah.
It wasn't fake or anything like that.
Very respectful of his fans, and was the kind of guy, like you said, who would not turn down a photo or an autograph for any of them.
I don't think so. Even if no matter how tired he was, because obviously the proof that he did the second year at Knott's is the living proof of that. I mean, there's no way he should have just stayed at home, relaxed, took it easy. And instead he said, no, I'm going to meet my fans. So this is where we'll talk, I guess, briefly about Seymour's connection to Knott's Halloween Haunt, which has been covered extensively in other videos and stuff. But I'd be remiss if I didn't touch upon it here. It seemed that Seymour generally had a special place in his heart for Knott's Berry Farm. As I said, because he actually took the time out during that second appearance when he was ill, and just said, I'm going to do it. And his stage performances are legendary. What do you think it is about Knott's that he just said, whatever, I'm not going to tell anybody I'm not feeling well, and I'm just going to go ahead and do it?
Well, I don't know. You know what? I don't know if it was Knott's per se.
Oh, okay.
I think it could have been. And if I were to take a guess at that, it was maybe because it's Knott's has a Wild West theme to it.
Oh,
That's what I would say
Dad was very, 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 very connected to the genre of Westerns and the Wild West. So maybe that spoke to him. But honestly, I think what drove him out of that sick bed was just to perform again, because he felt alive. And Doug speaks about that in that interview where he picked him up from St. Joseph's Hospital to take him to that last show, that he just wanted to go out with, having done what he does best and be with his fans and perform. So I don't know if it was the park so much that was calling to him, or just
maybe it was just the park just seemed like a good fit with him. That's what I think it is. Something? So. I didn't know that he was a fan of Westerns, because, my outside of horror films, one of my top loves is spaghetti Westerns.
I know.
Those Clint Eastwood.
Right.
What else did you hear? But anyway, because I'm an expert and I collect them, and I actually, I have a lot to do with the spaghetti Western genre. And so I wish I would have been old enough, because he would have, something, he might have been away from you gals for a few months at a time. But maybe if he would have went to Italy, they said, oh my God, what a face. Because, the Italian directors are all about weird faces and distinctive looks. Your dad would have been great in spaghetti Westerns.
And maybe on another show in the future, if you want to continue the conversation about Larry Vincent, the actor, I have dozens of stills of him in his cowboy. He did a beer commercial where he was a cowboy. Real interesting, quick sidebar. Val, we should tell Jay, you mentioned Italy. Before we came to California, Dad was shooting a commercial in Venice, Italy, and his appendix exploded while he was shooting this commercial, and he had to get to the hospital, and there was no Vaporetto available. This was in 1965, I think, or so. So he had to walk to the hospital. You can die from your appendix.
With a ruptured appendix.
Oh, right.
With a rupture. He had to walk in Venice, Italy, and he could have died because he obviously made it in time. But that memory just popped in my head when you said Italy. We could have lost him much earlier on than we did if he hadn't gotten himself to that hospital on time. Yeah. But Westerns, absolutely. Loved Gunsmoke.
I can see him on Gunsmoke. I can totally see him on Gunsmoke.
Absolutely.
And what's a coincidence? He was good friends with Dennis Weaver, Doodles Weaver.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
What do you got there, Diane? What do you got?
While you're chatting, I'm just going to see if I can find one of the cool Western photos. You keep talk amongst yourselves.
Talk about myself. Well, I was just going to say that my favorite story that Doug McEwen tells is that Seymour, in between doing his stage show, he was very ill, and of course he couldn't walk around, but they would drive him around one of those little electric carts, like those little golf carts.
Yeah.
Doug would be right next to him, and he would drive by all the rides. So he would, here's Seymour, waiting to go on in a couple hours in full cape and hat, and you'd be in line at the log ride or the mine ride, and here's Seymour in a golf cart being carted. And what he would stop right here, Ujinsky, and he would stop in front of the log ride, and as Doug says it, and Doug does a good impression of your dad too. Yeah, stop right here. Look that way, everybody, and he would break into the line and cut in front of everybody.
Oh, for heaven.
And get on the log ride, like that famous shot that I'm going to try to find here, where he's on the log ride. That was taken because he cut in front of everybody. And where is it? Here it is.
Hey, Val, didn't we do the log ride with him?
Oh my God! Look
Oh
at
yes, I
that.
Could
see
you?
that
And no
one.
one's going to get angry for Seymour cutting
No,
in
no, no.
line.
Oh my
And so he
I
God.
would do
love that.
this for the 2 days he was there.
Yeah.
He would give little shows, unscheduled performances. I just thought, how cool is that? I mean,
I love that.
you pay your ticket to see him at the John Wayne Theater, but here he is in
Here
the
he is.
afternoon eating
He's still-
popcorn and going on the log ride.
That's classic.
Love it.
So,
Hey Jay, check this
Great.
what do we got?
out. Larry Vincent, the cowboy.
Wow. He could have been the Marble Man.
He
For
could have
sure.
been. Here's another
Oh,
great
easy.
still.
That could have been
I
on
know
F
that-
Troop.
And then on his, you remember back in the day, actors had your hat, you had your headshot, right?
Wow.
And then you had your composite. Do you remember those? So check out one of the boxes on his composite. You have Seymour
Put it in the center a little bit more.
here.
Yeah.
Is that good?
That's
and
fine.
Then you have Larry, and then the other faces of Larry Vincent, the clown. You know, the
Just
series
5
of
or
it.
10 more years. That's all we could ask for, and what would have happened. The more work he could have
Oh
done.
my God. I
Oh
and
know.
my
stuff.
God.
You know what they say? The good ones go young. Go young. So
Yeah.
it's the truth. And I was going to
true.
say regarding the three of us. There we are. I was going to say that. Now let's get to the part that I've been actually waiting to talk to you gals about, and I'm sure you have stuff that rivals it. Was the infamous Seymour's fan club, which was hugely popular. I don't think there was a popular TV personality or celebrity who didn't have their own fan club. I guess in the late '60s, early. That was the
Yeah.
thing to do. Today you'd be on Facebook or Instagram, or you'd have a blog, but it was
Yeah,
more intimate back in the day, where.
Right.
And where you could send in a couple bucks, and you can get a plethora of cool stuff. Let me see what I have lined up here, and then of
What
course
is
you guys
that?
can show what you have.
That's what you have.
Let's see. Oh, forgot about that one from Knott's Halloween Haunt. That's not Mom.
Oh, that's fabulous. No, that's not Mom.
No. And I think I posted that in the Facebook page. Look what I found under the bar, Fringies.
I saw that's a
Right.
fabulous picture.
Anyway, let's start with the Seymour visor.
Yeah,
Oh my
we've got
God.
the visor check. We've got the visor.
Okay, ready? We're gonna keep doing the check here.
Yep.
What about the Seymour T-shirt?
Yeah, we
Oh,
got
yeah.
those.
Okay. Next, the Seymour
Yeah.
bumper sticker.
We have those.
Wow. Next, the Seymour album, Scream
Yeah.
Along
Yes.
with Seymour.
We have one or two of those.
Awesome. Next, of course,
Yeah.
where would you be without their certificate of demerit?
That's
Yes.
right. We have that.
Okay, and what else do we have? Oh, that's okay. Now it's time for you gals to show what you have.
Okay. Well,
Diane, what do you have?
we have Val. You have a button, right?
Well, I also
Hold on.
have this. This was like a flyer where Jay, you were mentioning you could buy merchandise.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you just filled I remember we sat in his apartment and mailed these out to fans. and
Licking
I-
envelopes.
Yep, totally. And the stuff on here is like $2, and
I also
you
forgot
could
to
buy
mention the slimy wall too.
and the Seymour button, which I have. Here's a.
Let's see the button.
Hang on.
Yeah,
let me get the
we
button.
have buttons.
Here's the button.
Wow.
I have a bag
And
of
then
both buttons.
there's another.
Hold on,
button
Diane.
with
Let me get your bag of buttons.
with his
bag of
face on it.
buttons.
Yeah, buttons.
I hope one of
Yeah.
those has my name on it.
Oh, it should.
Absolutely.
We've got the Seymour Frisbee.
That is insane. Does it have the dog bites on it for the dogs chasing it? Because it's for the dogs, Diane.
No, we have. This was like just like memo paper. Disrespectfully yours, note paper. We have another. I found another bumper sticker, but I only found one. Fright Night Seymour. I'd like to thank you, Fringies. I'd like to, but it's not my style that evening. And then we have the T-shirts, but there was also for the winter time the Seymour sweatshirt.
Sure.
Oh,
that you
man.
had.
A little bit in the center, other way. There we go.
Seymour sweatshirt.
That is so cool.
And all that we have left, Jay, in our little Seymour fan kit collection are all child sizes.
I'd still put it, I'd make it fit.
You'd make a quilt out of it.
I would.
A little crop top, you could work it.
A workout top.
Yeah.
These were passed out to the fans whenever he would do autograph signings. These little square paper, headshot.
Well, yeah, see, I think right here, he would sign it for the fans.
Yeah, there you go. So those were passed out. And, the Slimy Wall Times.
Yeah, I failed to mention that.
I think this is the only copy I have of it, but when I was a kid, I actually put my dad in my scrapbook.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, here's a picture. This is the only picture I have, Val, of that Hollywood Christmas Lane parade.
Oh.
And that's me in the car, and that's you behind me, Val. But
Lift it up a little bit so we can see. Yeah.
You're facing the other way. And it's a terrible photo. You can't make us out at all.
Was Johnny Grant there? Did he introduce Seymour?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably Johnny Grant was there, for sure. But I didn't know who Johnny Grant was at the time, so I didn't pay any attention.
Let's not. Okay, wait a minute. I got some other things on the show. Where is it? I'm going to keep looking.
Oh, nice.
Oh, the poster. How about that, Diane?
Okay, so yeah, we have a lot of posters, Jay, and we definitely have that one.
Oh.
And we have the trash can one. And there's a few other. I didn't unroll them because I didn't know I couldn't display them. But we have.
Wow.
They will go up on that auction when we get.
Jay, I don't know if you remember, he used to wear this little pin on his.
Oh yeah, near his jacket, edge of the jacket.
Yep,
Oh!
and the bat wing. And then here's another watch. So
yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, Val.
Cool. Yeah.
I have a great artifact that doesn't have anything to do with the fan club, but I wanted to share it with you guys.
Please.
Dad was received the Count Dracula Society Award, which was a very prestigious award honoring people like Vincent Price, and Rod Serling.
Lon Chaney Jr.?
Lon Chaney Jr. So I think Dad actually won it twice, but I have the program from the banquet. And
Show it in the center. Let's see.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not very good at the.
That's fine.
I'm a terrible Carol Merrill, aren't I? But the best part is, I'm going to show you the award. Oh.
Here, put it down a little bit.
Bring it down.
Down.
A little bit more down. There we go.
Isn't that beautiful? And it's handmade, signed by the artist on the bottom. And it's just a beautiful statue.
Too bad they didn't televise those things back in the day.
I know.
Right.
I know.
So many of these meetings and get-togethers there were photographers, but I don't think they had video cameras covering it.
You like the old clippings? So there's the Hollywood Reporter from, wait, how do I do this?
There you go.
1971, where
somewhere in there.
he bought a bunch of the copies of the 1970. Oh, it's so fun to go through these old Hollywood Reporters. But there's a little blurb in there about him winning the Count Dracula Society Award.
Oh, okay.
So he bought several copies, of that. So, but I think we covered all the fan club memorabilia that we have. And we don't have a lot of it, but we may be willing to share it with fans who are.
Well, I'm ready to get my bar mitzvah money ready. But anyway, that was just awesome. I love
Here's
memorabilia.
A cool poster.
Oh, there's the live one. Wait, let me get a close up of that. Yeah.
And here's another one, and I like this one a lot, Jay, because here, I'll show it to you first. Val, you might recognize a face on this poster.
Oh my God, Patty Weaver.
Yeah. So this can you get the whole thing, Jay?
Yeah.
So I never noticed this before on this poster because I haven't combed through this stuff in a long time, Jay. But every time I do, I learn something new. And on this poster, he did an appearance at the California Theater of Performing Arts in San Bernardino. That's the theater where I got my equity card and I met my husband.
Wow.
So, I love that. I can't.
Maybe Larry was looking over that one, huh?
Yeah.
I made a dummy for you. You'll like him. You won't. You will. I won't.
He did an appearance there at that theater where he had the three of us, me and my two sisters, Val and our older sister. He got us in on the act, and we had to do some goofy, like bad vaudevillian type of act, so to speak. And that was at that theater. Remember that, Val? The lemon. He made us the lemon sisters.
I do. Oh my God, yes, I do.
Wow. Oh, I'm still catching my breath from that memorabilia segment because I love memorabilia, souvenirs, paraphernalia, old relics.
Yeah, me too.
It's fantastic.
Me too. Yeah.
So
and there's more.
There's more.
I mean, there's a lot of.
Don't say that.
There's a lots and lots of clippings and articles.
Oh, right.
And posters and you've got the Halloween haunt stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
You've got all that stuff. And sorry about the shiny.
No, that's fine.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of clippings, and there's some are very delicate because they've yellowed and they're.
Of course,
they
yeah.
Fall apart near. I wasn't a very good archivist with this stuff. It sat in a trunk for so many years, and I never even.
Well, sometimes the trunk is the safest place.
I guess
it
is in the steamer trunk, so that's fitting for Seymour.
Because as I mentioned earlier, with Bob McAllister, who hosted Wonderama, his family, passed on his archives to me because, like, I'm showing. I mean, I reached out to. He had 3 daughters, and I just saw the name McAllister. This was back in the early days of Facebook, and I just said, "Hi, I'm a big fan of your dad," and Wonderama's a lost show, but I have a great memory and I can tell you who was on it, when they were on it.
Wow.
And they said, "Oh, well, we have a box of Dad's stuff. Maybe you'd like to have it." I'm like, "No, I'm just introducing myself. I'm not at that point yet." But anyway, after about 6 or 7 months, they're in New York. And I actually made a documentary about Wonderama. And I said, well, if you pass on these things, it's not to keep. If you can loan them to me, I could, put together all this stuff. And so I made the documentary, and basically I didn't ask for a dime. I didn't say, no, I did it out of a labor of love. This is what I love to do. I just see there's an affinity, a parallel to Seymour. I just love everything about Seymour and what he stands for. And he doesn't get in this modern era, oh, who's Seymour? Oh, that horror host. No. He's worth a 90-minute podcast. So,
that's, yeah.
You know what I mean? Jay. So I'm used, archiving is the thing that I've been doing for years, categorizing. No, it's almost, as I said, it's almost like, what do you call it? An addiction. It's just, I can't stop organizing. It's funny, my wife
can you come over here and help me organize
in a second, in a millisecond.
I would love you to, honestly.
Categorize and put together.
I'm serious. I could really use an archivist like you to
help
Val and I better preserve these things and maybe ultimately share them via an auction or an eBay kind of thing, because we have a lot of it. One more thing, this is cute. This is a little caricature from Universal Studios.
Wow. So he had to sit there while they did that.
I don't know about that.
Hurry up, you dummy. I've got an itch I can't scratch. That's fantastic. Well,
I wish I would have seen him do his Raven at the Mayfair. We never got to see him perform at the Mayfair. Val, tell Jay Dad's connection with Don Adams.
Oh, were they friends?
They were friends, and rumor has it that
they were childhood friends.
He, Bill Dana, and Don Adams, or my dad and Bill Dana. I'm not sure how that was actually, birthed, but made up the whole "Would You Believe?"
Would you believe?
And then Don ended up using that on his show, and of course that was like one of the biggest shticks of that show. But I guess I don't know if they were all sitting around and horsing around or writing, or how that came to be, but they were all kind of connected and very, I guess, good friends.
Yeah, as kids in back east.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say before we wrap up our Fringies tribute, do you have anything else to maybe add about your dad that maybe we fans didn't know about him? Something that cool or?
Well, he had a fabulous red MG. That was his pride and joy, that he drove around in Indiana and then transported it to California. And that was something he was very passionate about. I think, Val, anything come to mind?
He was a golfer, which is kind
Big
of
golfer.
surprising. He was a big golfer.
Yeah.
He did a lot of celebrity golf in Los Angeles, and gosh darn it, I'm a golfer now, and I wish I had played with my dad, but he loved golf, which is,
Yeah.
I don't know, just kind of surprising.
4?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think one of the most interesting things about him that we learned much later, because he was so very talented and was recognized as being so very talented and so driven, he wanted to come to California to do motion pictures and television. And that required moving his family. But that was a big, tall order to do back in 1967 financially. So a corporation was formed amongst his best friends, who consisted of doctors, businessmen, and their wives. They formed a corporation to send him to California and take care of him and his family for at least a year while he got settled. And this is before GoFundMe. So this would have been akin to, this is how much they believed in him and they wanted him to succeed. And I think that speaks volumes about his drive and his passion and the support that he got from people who really believed in him. I mean, it's kind of unheard of if you think about it. Oh yeah, let's gather all our friends around because we think this person's really talented and let's send him to Hollywood.
Because he had that it factor. I mean,
he did have
from
the
the
it
chiseled
factor, and they recognized it. And they knew, they had that much belief and faith in him that he was going to make something of himself, that they invested in him. And I think that's extraordinary.
And I also think if he wouldn't have played Seymour, I'm sure he still would have done TV roles.
Oh, you bet.
And been in motion pictures. That just took up a big chunk of his time.
You bet. That the Seymour, which, was his creation, was just his bread and butter to get his foot in the door. And then it exploded, but he didn't want to be in that. He didn't want to be tied to that forever, I don't think. I think he wanted to, feature films and, more of that kind of work. But
right.
Anyway,
if he
I
wouldn't
think
have
that's
done,
a really interesting factoid about him.
I think, if he wouldn't have done those TV shows that I mentioned or those movies and he just did the Seymour thing, that would have proven otherwise. Yeah, I just want to stay and do this. But you can tell he, had a whole body of work before that. And he kind of he invented that character and it worked and he milked it for all it was worth. And before he could take that next step, unfortunately, sadly, he left us too soon. So, but I think there would have been a good amount of work afterwards. Maybe the Seymour thing would have made and lasted another couple of years because the horror host thing was actually big, obviously, until the 80s with Elvira.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you personally, I mean, I've seen Elvira and I've met Cassandra and she's great and all. And I know the other, there's Sir Jeeves and there's Svengoolie. Everybody has their own favorite horror host, but we had Seymour.
Yeah.
So
we did.
I'm so thankful I didn't grow up, Zachary is great, and stuff like that. But it's just, and it's he's Seymourish in a bit, if you think about it. But I just don't think, on a whole, I think I would just, Seymour was the guy to host the show, to show the movies, and appear in that little box, underneath someone's armpit and say, don't you ever shave down here?
Yeah.
I
know. I'll tell you one thing. It would blow his mind to know that you are talking about him on a podcast some 5, 6, 7 years later. And there's the couple of Facebook pages and there's Seymour's. He's having some kind of revival.
To quote Dr. Frankenstein, he's alive.
He is alive.
Yeah.
He is alive. And thanks to people like you, Jay, and I thank you so much for, preserving his memory and his legacy. So thank you.
Oh, it was my honor and privilege. I just, great guy. There's only a few people in our lives. You think, it's just a horror host. No, if you do the research, much more than that. Just a great, genuine guy.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't even talked about, and I'll just mention, he would do Star Trek conventions and autograph shows, and he would probably get more people coming into him than Captain Kirk.
For sure.
They would just come around him. And
absolutely.
Right. And as I said, none of those things were televised or filmed, but thank God there are photographs that show him there.
And he did Comic-Con.
Yes, before it was the in thing to do.
Right.
That's right.
Exactly. And he did all that. And he would promote it.
Right.
Frenchies, come see me. I'll be at the San Diego Comic-Con this Saturday and Sunday. Have a bad evening.
That's right.
So, but anyway, I just want to thank you both
Thanks for having us.
on today's special show. No, thank you.
You want to buy a Frisbee?
Go ahead and toss it. I'll catch it with my teeth. But I just want to thank you both and for helping share and keep alive his great legacy. And Diane, you're an actress, and I'm sure some of his acting abilities came from the genes of your dad. So
I'm a big ham.
well, there you go.
Val can attest to that.
There you go.
So big ham I am.
But I just can't thank you enough for joining me, and hopefully we talked enough about him, so it'll keep his memory alive. So I also want to thank everybody for joining me on the Retro Time Machine podcast, where we talk to the grooviest stars of the 70s, and in this case, we talk to the grooviest daughters.
We're so groovy.
Hey, groovy. But
we are so groovy.
Eugene's Banjo Billy daughter, get out of here.
And don't slam the door.
And get out.
And get out. Have a bad evening.
Bye.
But I'm Jay Jennings, and reminding you all to stay groovy and to like and subscribe the Facebook and the YouTube channel. So for Diane and Valerie, Vincent, take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.